Duke showed why they're the best team in college basketball, beating UNC 76-61. Plain and simple. That's the story. And I'm going to say something that might spark some debate, but I think this team is better than last year's team. They have a better shot to win the national championship than last year's team. They are not the more talented team than last year's team. Flat out. But this is going to sound like a first take ESPN talking point. And, mostly I think those are just garbage. But I think here this actually applies. I believe this team, as a collective body, is much mentally tougher than last year's team. And last year, you look at that Houston game. I want to dissect why they lost that game, because it is sure as heck not because of talent, and it's not because of coaching. It's because of a lack of familiarity to the situation that they were in. A close game against a team like that. They weren't battle-tested last year. And when you play in close games, think like those Kirby Smart Georgia teams. You build some freaking character when you win those games, because you have to squeeze everything out of that lemon to win. Duke never had to do that. They were steamrolling everyone and their mother they played last year. Heck, they had one single-digit win last year, and it was December 4th against Auburn. So going into March of last year, they went 3.5 months without winning a game that was a single-digit margin. Lost a lot of close games last year. That Kentucky game, that Cooper Flag turnover, losing to Kansas, losing to Clemson, right? This team, I believe, is far mentally tougher. The ACC also being down last year didn't help. John Shire knew all of this going into the offseason. So you know what he did? He called Dusty May's phone line and said, hey, we want to play you guys, but we want to play you super late in the season. We're going to do something different. So as a result, Duke and Michigan played in late February this year, a few weeks ago. And you know what? That Duke team last year, I don't believe they would have won that game. I think there's evidence to show as to how they kind of crumbled in the final seconds last year. This team is far mentally tougher because they've been battle-tested. The ACC's much better. Miami, NC State, Virginia, SMU, Clemson, UNC. All those teams are most likely tournament teams right now. So Duke is getting battle-tested, which is the one thing they were missing last year. It wasn't personnel. It wasn't coaching. It was that one factor. Also, last year, Duke didn't have barely any tournament experience. Only one guy in their lineup last year played a tournament game. One guy on the bench. This year, Isaiah Evans, Patrick Ngongba, Caleb Foster, Malik Brown, Darren Harris. That's 5 guys who remember the taste of that Houston loss last year. 5 guys who have been through the ups and downs of a Final Four run. They didn't have that last year. I remember doing a video on them in December. And I said, if they can't find a consistent second option behind Cameron Boozer, their potential is going to be capped. If they do find one, they're going to be the best team in the sport. And you know what, man? These last 7 games, Isaiah Evans, 17 points per game, 47% from 3. Kind of struggled at points this season. He's found his shot, which is huge for Duke. I think they've gotten just a little bit too Boozer dependent at times. And Cameron Boozer's that guy. He can put the team on his back. But when you play the Michigans and Arizonas of the world, you need that second option because they're good enough to take away the first option. Shooting 41% from 3 as a team these last 7 games. They were shooting 33% from 3 throughout the whole season. And I think that's because they've given Darren Harris more minutes. He's been draining it from 3. Dame Sarr has been awesome from 3. We'll talk about him soon. Caleb Foster. This is already one of the best paint scoring teams in college basketball. You look at their 2-point field goal percentage, it absolutely backs it up. The one thing this team, personnel-wise, was missing is their 3-point shot. Seems like they found it last 7 days. 7 games, excuse me. But I haven't even brought up maybe the best part of this Duke team. Defensively. This is a team that's giving up the least points per possession in the entire sport. Dame Sarr, I kind of teased this, but I want to talk about Dame Sarr. He was huge in that UNC game. Dame Sarr is a massively great representation of how awesome of a coach Jon Scheyer is. Because Dame Sarr, I watched him against Kansas. Dude got kind of pushed around. And I thought, well, you know, Isaiah Evans sort of takes his role a little bit from 3. So how are they going to use him? Is he just going to be a catch-and-shoot guy? Is he playable? And so Jon Scheyer basically went up to him and gave him a pretty hard talk and said, we need you to be a disruptor. Who cares what the NBA scouts think? That'll work itself out. We need you right now to be a defensive magnet. And you know what? Duke's defensive rating is the lowest in all of college basketball when Dame Sarr is on the floor. He is a disruptor. Him and Malik Brown, when you have those two guys on the floor at once, Duke is the best defensive team in this sport. Because those two guys fill their role so well. So Jon Scheyer, props. Him using Dame Sarr like that, that's awesome. Because Dame Sarr can be an offensive star one day. He realizes who he has in Cam Boozer and Isaiah Evans and all these guys and says, we need you to be a disruptor. And he fills that role perfectly. So it's guys like that as to why Duke is giving up the least points per possession in the whole sport right now. And so, man, you look at this team. Paint scoring, perimeter scoring. You have a point guard in Caleb Foster. And defensively, there's no personnel weakness as long as they keep draining threes. But the mental toughness and the experience, they have that. They didn't have that last year. And that is why I believe Duke is the best team in college basketball.